Hey everyone, it's Ivan, KidBadger.com, here with another adventure from Strawberry Mountain. The story actually starts a week ago as of filming this and has nothing to do with these fox prints that go off in that direction. But about a week ago, ended up calling up a buddy of mine. I was like, hey, do you want to go up Strawberry Mountain? He was like, sure, let's do it. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's go up like Wednesday and then stay the night, do some filming, come back on Thursday. Sounds good. So we loaded up and hit the road. Headed north from where I am up past Sandpoint and made our way. Eventually getting into some snow, driving along. My buddy's FJ, brand new, like awesome tires on it. Feeling pretty confident, cruising along past the grade where I had my misadventure one time coming back from Strawberry Mountain and made it up. And we ended up getting to kind of the last spot where the road wides, and right there's actually this big like snowcat, like caterpillar, like bulldozer type with a plow that one of the tracks had came off right there. And so we look at the road we need to take, which had never been plowed, but there were tracks on it. And we're like, should we go ahead and risk it, or should we just park and walk from here? We're like, we're feeling pretty confident. And if we did head up that way, probably cut off about a mile from our hike, or conversely would add a mile if we parked there. So we're like, let's give it a shot. Started up that road. Probably about 3/4 of a mile later, we got stuck. Fortunately, before I even became real friends with said friend, he ended up watching one of my videos and ended up, because of that video, picking up the Demos stealth shovel. Really glad he did. We ended up breaking that thing out and going to town, trying to get this thing dug out. We had finally got into the point, and because it was kind of late in the day, we got a late start. It's about 10:30, the sun was out, snow was getting soft, undercarriage started to drag, and that was it. So, and then we also no longer had traction. He didn't have chains for his vehicle, so there we were digging stuff out. I ended up breaking out my silky saw, which I happen to have in my bag, and started chopping down small trees, limbs, everything like that, trying to provide traction. We did this for a while, and I was like, well, let's just turn around. Terrible idea. Personally, I will say for the record, I was of the mind, let's just go ahead and back down. It's like, I'd feel better turning around. So we got stuck again. Working. At this point, a guy comes up, rides up on a quad that has 4 tracks on it. Cruises up, he's like, what the hell are you guys doing? The guy lives up there, he's used to it. He's also used to getting people unstuck, or just seeing people stuck for that matter. So he proceeds to help us try and get unstuck, and we managed to get the vehicle out from the poor choice where we thought we were going to back up onto more or less the tracks. At that point, we had a couple options. One, we could either dig down about 3 feet of snow till we had a big enough spot that was clear so we could turn the vehicle around, or we could make a giant fire and burn the snow down, or we could basically wait until morning, till the snow was hard again, and try our luck then. Those were kind of our options. We'd already moved yards of snow, so we weren't really into the digging option, and we'd already resigned ourselves to basically camping there. I had told them much earlier on in the day, I was like, hey, noon is our drop dead time. If we can't get unstuck and get on the trail by then, we won't do it. We can go camp at a cool spot further down the road or something like that. Well past noon, we resigned ourselves to staying the night, ended up setting up tents, and we're like, let's make a giant fire. And I went to town, get in wood. I then proceeded to, a while back, I forget how long, well, about a year ago, I guess, I was using my silky saw, cold weather, and snapped the tip off. It can definitely happen. silky saws, definitely not known for durability, but like nothing else cuts like them. And so there I was chopping down a pretty substantial tree, and sure enough, the blade busted. It's like, damn it. There goes our plan of, building a giant bonfire tonight. Pretty much went out the window with the silky saw. So we built what little fire we could, which it was okay. If nothing else, it was just for morale, and cooked some hot food and settled in for the night. That next morning, while the snow was nice and hard, we ended up getting stuck and unstuck a couple times, basically taking all those trees and giant limbs we'd cut down, stacking them on the hood, and I proceeded to ground guide them for about 3/4 of a mile, all the way back to essentially that Y intersection. And we get to spots, take all those trees and stuff off, lay them along the side so that when the tires wanted to slip in to the side, the culvert, they couldn't, they'd hit them, kept going down. Finally got back there, turned around and headed home. It was a bust. Chalk another one up for Strawberry Mountain, but I was not to be dissuaded. I was kind of bummed it didn't work out because the weather was epic. As we were coming out, it was just incredible blue skies. You could see the mountain, and I was like, damn, I want to be up there filming. But it didn't happen. I said, hey, what are you doing next week? Want to go back up Strawberry Mountain? And mind you, since then, he's made all kinds of improvements to his vehicle to include chains as well as just more recovery gear that he didn't have, some max tracks, I think. All the stuff that would have made more or less short work of that misadventure. But as it turns out, he was actually headed out of town. So I said, all right, I'm still gonna go. So packed up my pack again. And I will say, going on solo, well, there's like a certain level of difficulty just going on a backpacking trip. And then it's like, oh, a solo trip +2 difficulty, because now you carry the tent, the cook gear, everything. Like anything that could be spread load, you carry it. And it's like, oh, winter +3, because now it's not like, oh, I was hiking some shorts and maybe bring like a sweatshirt or some sort of fleece if it gets cold. No. Summertime, wintertime, 2 different things. And then on top of all that, it's like, oh, you want to film? +5. Camera, tripod, whatever I'm going to film, which is usually things that are not light. And yeah, it adds up pretty quick. So my pack, I weighed it before I stepped off. I would say it weighs 1,000 pounds, but you probably won't believe me, so we'll just split the difference, call it 500. I'm pretty sure it's actually over 50 for reals though. So I ended up packing everything up and I set out. I ended up getting up early this morning, made some coffee, did some last minute stuff, threw everything in the vehicle, headed north. Driving up, finally got off into the snow. I ended up throwing my chains on. Snow was still nice and hard. I was there early. It was, I don't know, probably a little after 7 or something like that. It was, I think, 14 degrees out, if that tells you how cold it was. So start driving, and sure enough, this guy is coming the other direction on a snowmobile. And he's like, what are you doing, man? You're gonna ruin the road for us people that live up here and ride snowmobiles back and forth to where the cars are parked, and you're just gonna get stuck. And I was like, Probably. So I ended up reversing out about 3/4 of a mile back to where the hardball was, and there's a little parking lot there. And the guy was actually really cool. He's like, yeah, get up there, man. It's going to be incredible. You're going to have good weather next couple days. I was like, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But problem being, honestly, I want to ask the guy, be like, can you just give me a ride to the trailhead on the snowmobile? But I didn't. So instead, I threw my pack on and started walking the road 5.62 miles or something to where the trail started. Down, up a grade, down some more, up another grade, finally to the trailhead. And it was rough. It was a little over 2 hours to cover that. I mean, fortunately, it wasn't terrible hiking. I didn't have to put my snowshoes on, and at the end of the day, like, I was basically walking on a road. It wasn't until the very end that, like, started post-holing a little bit just because the snow was softening up. But I finally made it to the trailhead, and at this point, man, I want to say it was like close to noon now. Or, no, I take that back. I don't know, probably about 10:30, 11 o'clock. So stopped there, had a snack, first thing I'd eaten that day. Still running on bulletproof coffee, drank some water, and was like, all right, let's do this. Didn't take long, about a 1/4 mile in, came to the first obstacle. Got to cross the creek. And usually I feel like, I don't know, it's been a little bit warm this February, and so the creek is definitely moving, not iced over like it has been in the past, even though there are big blocks of ice in places. So do I want to figure out somewhere to, like, kind of ford it on rocks, or there's a couple down trees? Like, why not just walk across a down tree? Definitely pretty sketchy. I had two options. I have actually hiked across both of them in warmer months, and right out in the middle, like, I knew it was high risk, but right out in the middle, I honestly almost lost it. I was just like, oh, don't do this. That would end the adventure. I would be like, all right, I'm gonna go home. This isn't fun anymore. I'm soaking and freezing. But fortunately, I managed to get my footing back and made it across. Again, like 50-pound pack or something. It was not fun, but got across that and started going up. Definitely slow going, kind of grinding out the miles very slowly. And because of the first part of the hike that I was not expecting, the 5.5 miles or so, was definitely going through more water than I'd anticipated. I just had a Nalgene bottle and then, yeah, basically another liter, which would have been fine if it was just the, like, 5 miles up. I probably would have got up there, been out of water, been thirsty, and made some water. Melted a bunch of snow. But adding on another 5.5 miles, yeah, I was getting to a spot where I was like, I am not drinking as much water as I should, so what am I gonna do about that? The last thing I wanted to do was pull my stove and everything out, my pot, all that stuff. I did not want to melt snow, but I've made enough poor choices in my life that I was like, you know, dehydration, probably not a good thing, especially up here as I'm climbing up at altitude. So I stopped, pulled everything out. And at that point, I was kind of taking stock and just being realistic about it. It was already, I think when I stopped, it was sometime after 2 in the afternoon. And I had just reached halfway of the actual hike up Strawberry Mountain. So about 3/4 of what would be my total hike. And melting snow, it's not super fast because you keep adding snow to your water as it's getting warmer. But sat there, and fortunately, a lot of this mountain, you actually have cell phone service, which is in part why I will go on a solo adventure like in the middle of winter back here. So talked with my buddy Matt from Jerking the Trigger. after thinking through it, I'm like, hey, this is where I'm at. Just kind of giving them updates throughout the day. I said, hey, I think I'm going to just stay here, man. I'm going to stay the night here, then I'm going to go up tomorrow. And he's like, I think it's a solid plan. So that is where I'm at right now. Went ahead and melted, made a bunch of water, I guess. And man, I will say having a hot meal can't be understated. Definitely good for morale. So I ended up getting a bunch of water, a bunch of snow melted. And now I have warm water in my water bottles, both of which are insulated, and had a nice warm meal and set to work making camp. Here is my camp. I went ahead and basically initially sat down right there, started making some water, making some food, and I called it. So I, again, lightweight winter travel. I ended up busting this thing out. I still forget what its name is, but it's made over in Finland by Varusteleka. Pretty sure I pronounced that right. They make some rad stuff, and I just got this. I've been putting in time with it. It's pretty cool because back here, you basically have a hatchet. And so I ended up cutting a bunch of wood. I'm gonna probably go get more and yeah, hang out and get a fire going. The hike up here was probably the most difficult thing I've done in recent memory. It was pretty rough, but got up here, and by the time I was done with water and everything, as I said, that it didn't make sense to push. It was about 3 o'clock at that point when I had eaten and everything. Maybe about I don't know, a little over 2 hours left daylight, which at the pace I've been going would not put me to the top. So it'd probably put me in a pretty bad spot by the time it got dark, like a side of a mountain. So went ahead, got everything set up here. Right now my plan is to get up in the morning, break camp, have a hot meal so I can start with some high morale, because it'll probably be really cold in the morning. But once I do that, I'm gonna step off and get up to the top. Probably stay that entire day and probably camp up there tomorrow night, and then come down that third day. So we'll see what this adventure holds. But as always, thanks for joining us at capebadger.com. Look forward to seeing you next time.